Welcome back to Steele and Vance. And Lynda, a little bit of good news delivered this week in terms of healthcare in our province, and particularly where doctors are concerned. The struggle is real with
No kidding. We're talking about family doctors that have been overburdened, stressed out, burned out. They're trying to see too many people. They're not compensated properly. They're leaving. And meanwhile, we have almost 1 million people who don't have a family doctor. So the province has come up with a new deal, hoping to fix things.
Yes.
They're going to push in about $700 million. They're going to increase a family physician's full-time pay from about $250,000 to like $385.
Yep.
And there's news as well for all of the people who can't get a family doctor. It's all part of this plan. So it's exciting. And we have a very special guest.
We do have a very special guest. Dr. Remnick Dosanjh is joining us on the line. Thank you for doing this, Doctor, and being the lead on this with such a great team of people who have really worked diligently with our health ministry. Can you lay out just what's on the table for ratification?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I want to clarify for all our listeners as well is that there's 2 announcements that were made earlier this week, and one of them was the Physician Master Agreement, which we've reached a tentative settlement with our government, and we'll be going out for ratification to our membership in the next few weeks. And what that entails is really the best deal across Canada that we were able to achieve this year comparatively across the board from our provinces to achieve this for our physicians, and that's all physicians, family doctors, and specialists that provide care for our patients here in BC. And that increase was 13.5% over the next 3 years. And when you look at that agreement specifically, I do believe, in my own opinion, that this is the best deal we've had in BC. And for many reasons that I'm proud of this deal. One of them is definitely near and dear to my heart, is thinking about gender equity and really talking about cultural safety and humility in our healthcare.
And you know what? People are looking for some simple solutions. We want to see family physicians supported properly. We want them to come back to the practice and maybe even attract some from other provinces. Is this deal going to do that, do you think?
I think this new payment model was really designed. You laid out some of the burdens beautifully earlier when you started, is that you really understand that family doctors have been trying so hard to make it work, and the working conditions just were not sustainable. And we're hoping that this new payment model shifts the way that we do things, and it enables our physicians on the ground to be able to address rising business costs and really get paid and compensated for the work that they're doing long into the evening, that unpaid, unseen work, which a lot of our family doctors are trying to coordinate care for their patients and charting in wee hours of the night and taking time off their weekends and away from their own families to provide that level of care that needs to happen for the protection and safety and well-being of our patients.
And Dr. Dosanjh, for our viewer who perhaps thinks, doctors make a ton of money, they're really wealthy. How can that be a struggle? And yet maybe not understanding the overhead on some family physicians in private practice in an affordability crunch, like the costs associated with having a practice, and for some just it becoming untenable and walking away. Will this help with retention and maybe open up some spaces for, as Lynda mentioned, those 1 million British Columbians who don't have a GP?
You bring up a really good point, and I think it's to bring it back to capacity. And the issues with capacity have been able to keep your doors open. And I am well aware of that consequence, because when your commercial lease cost goes so high and you don't have control on that, and the operational costs, as well as your staffing costs, when those things are out of your hand, it's really difficult to keep your clinic running. And most physicians incur expenses upwards of 40% for their overhead costs alone just to practice and see patients. And this will enable us to do things differently.
And one of the concerns is that you go to the doctor and they say, you can only ask me about one thing because they're so overloaded. So if family physicians in this province will have the luxury, and I'm doing air quotes, of being able to spend more time with patients, does that not also mean they see fewer patients?
I think there's two parts to that. I think the time component in this new payment model recognize that even the time with your patients should be remunerated and compensated adequately, because oftentimes that you'll see physicians are running behind in their clinic because someone comes in for maybe one problem, but it becomes a very significant problem, or something that we have to spend more time with them and to talk about, or maybe there's something that they haven't shared and then we pick up and we elaborate on that, so it pushes our schedule back and the time from other patients away. But in the typical fee for service system, you're only paid for that one visit and that one person, irrespective of the time that you spend with them. And this will allow people to shift the way they're dealing with patients and spending time with them. But it also, in the interim, that it may be that patients get more time with their patient. And that's again dependent on the provider and how they provide their care for their patient. But it would really, over time, in the next 3 to 5 years and moving forward for the healthcare system in general, when patients are looked after in that one visit potentially, and they have more time with their patient, then less likely that they need to keep coming back. And we can actually
Right.
start doing things such as prevention and think about wellness and quality improvement.
So, I mean, speaking of time, we don't have enough of it. We're going to have you back to talk more here. But just in general terms, uh, oftentimes we see government announcements happen and they don't land necessarily well. As the Doctors of BC president, how is this being received by physicians and specialists in British Columbia?
I have been hearing such feedback from many of our physicians, but also recognizing that this has been a collaborative effort and really truly at the table, them listening, hearing to our patients, the patients' outcry in May on the legislative lawn. It's been apparent that 1 million patients still without a family doctor. And we know
Crazy.
this is not going to fix things overnight. But our hope is that if we allow those physicians to keep them from closing their doors and folding and leaving the profession earlier than intended, and to really recruit some of our new grads into practice, because we're saying that you're valued, the work that you do is valued, and you're not going to have to leave because of an overhead cost. And that means a lot. And I think really what we need to think about is the direction of patient care and where we're building on with our partnerships. And this is not, the overnight fix everything in healthcare problem. We know that there's real issues in the healthcare system that affect our emergency rooms and our radiology colleagues, as well as surgical wait lists and various other parts of this healthcare system that are a dramatic
Right.
need of reform. But this is one step in the right direction. And we appreciate our government colleagues really recognizing the value of relationship based care, which is longitudinal primary care, and that everyone deserves a family doctor.
For sure.
Amen to
And
that.
we are raising a glass
Yes, we
to
do.
all the
Cheers.
hardworking family physicians in BC. Congratulations on this new pending deal. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
That is Dr. Remnick Dosanjh, the president of Doctors of BC.
We're going to have her in studio shortly, in short order. We need to talk more about this, and we'll pour her a glass of wine and have a little chat.
Indeed. Coming up next on Steel and Vance, from Halloween rampages in Delta and Victoria to a riot at the PNE, Metro Police are asking for the public's help identifying the suspect. Is it time for CCTV cameras on the streets?
Hell yes!